West Farms train station for the 2-5. We're going to start here with our walking tour to show a little bit about where the Five Bridges project is actually going to be taking place and how it's going to impact the walkability of the neighborhood and where points of interest might be harder to get to while this project is happening or after the project has been completed if NYSAT builds this elevated diversion structure. So we just walked down West Farms Road. We walked south towards the Bronx Expressway. You can see it right here. You can see that this is a really narrow, poorly maintained sidewalk that actually the closer and closer you get to under the Cross Bronx, it starts to feel really dangerous. It starts to feel really dark. And we're gonna keep walking south to the project area and see where the different landing points of the Five Bridges project will be. So we are currently on the intersection of West Farms Road and the Cross Bronx Expressway. This is the western landing point of the proposed connector road or traffic diversion structure that State DOT is proposing. This landing point would come down to street level right underneath the current Cross Bronx Expressway, pointing out in this direction. So it would completely change this intersection, and in the case that they decide to build it with the option of keeping private vehicles as part of using this roadway after the construction's finished, that would add a whole new way that traffic is moving and how cars are getting around and accessing this area. We already saw as we walked down West Farms Road how congested and unsafe a lot of these intersections are for pedestrians. So this would completely change how traffic is moving. We don't know exactly how it will change, but we want to make sure that the community is ready to provide input on what their concerns are about traffic and more vehicles in this area. Now we're going to go down to the 174th Street Bridge, cross over the river, and get to the eastern side of the project. Street Bridge right now on the west side near Boone Avenue, and as you can see over here is the Cross Bronx Expressway over the Sheridan. This is the area where State DOT is proposing to build another elevated roadway. That structure would be south of the current Cross Bronx while they do construction to rebuild these bridges over the floor level of the road. And so what we want to know is what are the impacts to the community on a second elevated roadway, shadows, how that would impact the walkability of the neighborhood, how that would impact traffic flow through the area, how it would impact the quality of life and our ability to get around this neighborhood. Yeah. So we're going to walk across the 174th Street Bridge now to the east. We're pausing right here to just show this is Starlight Park, this is the Bronx River Greenway just to the east of the river, and this section of the park and the Greenway is what would be most heavily impacted by the proposed construction project and the eastern landing point of this elevated roadway. Right now we're in the north section of Starlight Park. To my right here, to the west, is the Bronx River. We're on the Bronx River Greenway. And right up here is the Cross Bronx. So one of the proposals that would build the traffic diversion structure, this elevated roadway, would cut right over the park in this section and would potentially cause a lot of destruction of these trees and shrubbery here in the park. And one of the proposed options has a landing point to the Greenway, the Bronx River Greenway, in this section. Now, because that area would have to have a huge footprint to make it ADA accessible, to get up to this huge height, we're seeing a big part of this park would be changed or demolished potentially. And again, the Cross Bronx is to the north here, the river is to the west, and Bronx River Houses is to the east over here. This parking lot that you see here is the MTA bus depot parking lot. So we're right just south of 177th Street and Tremont Avenue right now. Right now we're at the corner of 174th Street and Bronx River Avenue. There's the concrete plant that's right here down the street, and across the street here is Bronx River Houses. This is the local NYCHA housing development that currently residents can't even open their windows ever because of the current state of the air pollution due to the Cross Bronx and this concrete plant. So we are very concerned, and residents are very concerned about any additional roadway and long-term construction that would exacerbate any of the air pollution that already currently our community is overburdened with. Walked up Bronx River Avenue towards the Cross Bronx, which is right there. We're across the street from Bronx River Houses. This is where the eastern landing point of this new elevated roadway would be. Again, if this roadway is allowed to have pedestrian vehicles on it, that would just increase the amount of car traffic that's potentially landing in this area. Again, already overburdened with a lot of air pollution and already really difficult to navigate and walk around. You can see the sidewalks are in a huge state of disrepair. It's extremely hard to get to anything on this side of the Cross Bronx from anywhere else because these overpasses are really dark. They're sketchy, they don't feel safe to walk under, and so we're talking about another overpass. You know, how would that impact the neighborhood? So some of the proposed renderings have an improved intersection here. We really do think that anything that better controls how fast cars can go and how easily people can move on by foot or by bike. All of those things would really improve how people can get around this neighborhood. So we're not against any of the street safety improvements that are proposed by State DOT. Again, we're just not sure how that feeds into why there needs to be an elevated roadway necessarily. Why do we need to accept a potential harm in order to get potential benefits? So right now we are at the intersection of 177th Street here, at this slipway lane that goes onto Bronx River Avenue South. One of the positive things that NYSDOT has said about this project is that they would potentially include an intersection redesign here that would include a protected bike path and would create a signalized intersection here instead of this slipway, again, to protect pedestrians pedestrians and people that are trying to walk around the neighborhood and get to important points, like for example Noble Playground, which is just that way across the road and extremely difficult to get to if you don't live right across the street from it, because it's separated from the rest of the neighborhood by 3 different highways. Another thing that we see as a positive about this potential project is that NYSI is saying that they will add a ramp directly from the Bronx River Parkway going south right here onto the Cross Bronx Expressway going south. So instead of all of these cars that have to and trucks that currently have to get onto a street level and impact the safety of pedestrians down by Tremont Avenue to get on to either the Sheridan or the Cross Bronx, that would eliminate that highway traffic that's using our side streets. So we see that as a net benefit to the neighborhood. We think that that is the sort of action that State DOT should be thinking about, things that increase pedestrian safety and take cars out of the neighborhood, not adding them to the neighborhood.